Welcome everyone to the Howl Podcast, where we feature individuals with captivating stories and diverse backgrounds. Our goal is to bring people together by sharing inspiring perspectives and experiences that drive positive change in the world. And I am your host, Nicholas James Barber, and I am accompanied by my partner here, Nicole Ruiz, for this episode. And in today's episode, a long time that Nicole hasn't been here, so we are jumping straight back with our very special guest today, Hans Braga. Not only has he starred in our first Filipino feature film as the lead Jerome, but you can see him hosting big corporate events. You may also have heard his soothing voice on radio and TV. And he is also a personal trainer. We'll explore his remarkable journey through the life and entertainment industry, including his recent work in the film Tahanan, which is set to premiere at the Silicon Beach Film Festival at the TCL Chinese Theaters on September 10 at 12 p.m. We'll see you there.
Come through, come see what we made.
Yeah, and it's so great to finally have you here on site. It's been months, like we've been planning this for months.
Forever.
We had to change hairs to get here.
It's so hard. It's so hard to. I mean, everyone has so many jobs. First of all, I feel like we all have so many side hustles.
It's true.
And then on top of that, like, there's so many moving parts, right? Like, what time is everyone off from work? Do you even have time or energy after work? Like, I am running on coffee and a dream.
Beautiful. That sounds very delicious. May we have two, please?
I know, my God. Not sponsored by Celsius yet, but that shit saves my life every damn day.
And it's reach us out for sponsorships right there. But in all seriousness, that we, the three of us, are here right now in this moment in time, after a very big production last year and very successful film festivals. Right now we are here with you, Hans. So it's a celebration of your accomplishments and your journey through life. So let's discuss how it started, for people who don't know you, who haven't had the privilege of sitting down and spending time. Started the Philippines.
Are we going from the top? Oh my God.
Or like,
funny.
Yeah.
Earlier I was talking to my partner and I was like, what the fuck am I going to talk about on this podcast? Because I feel like I haven't done anything. And I just realized, like, thank you for reminding me that, you know what, wait, I've done a lot of things. It's just my mindset right now, because I'm new in this city. I'm kind of in the beginning chapters of this part of my life. In my mind, wala pa akong nagagawa, wala pa akong successes. But thank you for reminding me that back home, before I moved, I was doing a lot of stuff, a lot of really cool stuff, actually. So let's, I guess, start from the top. I guess I got my start in theater. Started doing theater when I was 5 years old. I was 5 years old when I did my first show.
Wow.
And I was doing like different musicals, like mostly workshops throughout the years, every year until I was high school. And then it really changed when I got casted just as like ensemble, but for a professional show. And that kind of introduced me to the world of entertainment. And that's where I kind of got like really got the performing bug. Like before, it was just like, I love to do it. I think it's fun to do after school. And then when I realized that I could make a living out of it, try to make a living out of it. That was when really the ball started rolling. So it was called Noah for trumpets. I was 13 years old. I was the swing, so which means anytime, a swing in musical theater means anytime someone's sick or absent or whatever, I have to somehow fill in. Or I'm just like I'm the cast member who has to fill in for their role, right? On top of that, being an ensemble,
you are the next capable person to play the role.
Well, thankfully, no one ever got sick, but it was still cool that I still got to be part of the ensemble cast and get to meet so many cool people. It was directed by Sir Jaime Del Mundo, who I worked with again later on. in Peter Pan. So I couldn't. So after working with trumpets, I worked with Rep naman Repertory Philippines. And for those of you who don't know, those are like some of the biggest like musical theater companies, at least for English speaking plays. Because surprise, surprise, medyo konyo ako in the Philippines. And then I continued to work with Rep for a few years. I think the most fun show I did had to be Camp Rock, the musical, because I'm a Disney boy. I'm a Disney girly. I love the Disney Channel original movies. I regularly listen to High School Musical, the soundtrack, as a grown adult. And yeah, it was such a dream come true to be Sander. See Sander, he in the movie he's like the black dancer.
Yeah, the dancer. Oh my god.
Yeah, the dancer, and I had to rap.
Wow.
I had to rap. So that was cool. And then theater eventually took a back seat when I got to college because your boy wanted the full Ateneo experience, which means like, just being in school. Because at that point I had like this kind of fork in the road. Do I continue just doing this like, school during the day, at night rehearsals and shows, which is really fun because I did that for a few years. Like I got to skip high school. Like I got to skip days in school to go do shows, which is really cool. But I was like, no, I want the full like college experience. I want to be there, be present, and do orgs and be part of. I was part of the cheer squad, and so I chose that life for a little bit, which is great. Like I owe so much of my skills now actually to my Ateneo experience, because eventually I found. Well, I continued to perform as a cheer dancer and in musical theater in the Ateneo Blue Repertory, and eventually made my way to hosting. I hosted ORSEM, which is short for Orientation Seminar. Orientation Seminar is like the big event.
How many students are there?
I think the first one that I hosted was the bigger one. There must have been between 1,500 to 2,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then the consistent energy to keep that up.
Yeah, it's like energy all day for 2 whole days straight.
Well, talk about ORSEM, guys. Like for people in the audience who doesn't know what that is, just give them a little bit of context, maybe.
Yeah, so ORSEM is it's called Orientation Seminar for all the freshmen who are incoming for their year at Ateneo de Manila University. And basically, it's an introduction to the school, the culture, the campus, the organizations, the departments, everything. But it's not like, since that's a lot of information and it, let's be real. A lot of that information is going to be, it's a little bit boring.
Exactly.
It's the event's job to make it super fun, to make it interesting, enjoyable, memorable, because it's like it's like, what's that called? Sentimental, diba? For your college experience. You're kickstarting the next chapter of your life. You're going to meet your blockmates, which is like classmates for the next few years. And so it was our job as hosts to not just like entertain, but also kind of like introduce them to the culture from a student's perspective, because they're getting a lot of information from the school, right? Yeah. It was our job to make it like, all right, but what are Ateneans like? What's the culture like? Like we had to let them in on all the jokes that are about school, or like, like who hangs out where, and just like all these little things that make up someone's college experience. We were kind of just shepherding them into this next chapter in their life. And it was really nice because the kind of the hosting program, like the people behind it really trained their hosts so well. And I'm so forever grateful for that training program, because it was like 2 months or almost 3 for my first one. Because my first one, it was during intersession, which is that time that we like changed schedules from like Philippine schedule to international schedule, and so we had almost 6 months of summer, and so we just had a long time to yeah, I know, it's the best, and we had a long time to train.
The long summer.
Yeah, I'll never forget it. Gosh,
I remember that too.
And then I was so grateful for that training, because it was so intensive. We got to meet so many so many different hosts. I believe we met I think we met Gretchen Ho. Yeah, I think we met Gretchen Ho.
Oh yeah.
Nick,
The volleyball player.
I think we also met Nikki Hill.
Okay.
Yeah.
We met a bunch of and a lot of other hosts who aren't like celebs, but like are working in the industry
Yeah.
or were former Orsum hosts too.
Yeah.
We just met so many people who gave us so many great just like great knowledge that I'll never forget. Jazz Reyes, who is like also a host on 99.5 Play FM, where I was a DJ for a while. She was really cool. She's so much fun. I really admire her as a creative, and learning from all these people, I'll never forget all the stuff that we learned because I still use it to this day. As we speak, I'm literally using those skills that they taught us. And then so hosting was great, not just because of like all the stuff I learned, but also all the people that I met. Like I don't think I've ever seen a production that was that well run by students. Like we were so well taken care of as talent. Everything was so pre-planned. Everything was like, this is what's gonna happen. This is how it needs to go. And if there's any changes, we were so prepared because like we know that we knew the script from back to front. Like it just taught me to prepare so much and also taught me to also rely on the team. And it's I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse, but it's like it set my standards so high for productions of like to know what they're doing, because it's like I feel like it taught me that for your talent for you to have the best show, you have to be over prepared and be prepared for anything.
Yeah.
Nice.
That doesn't say things don't go wrong. Things always go wrong, and that's why you over prepare, right? But the number one thing, that I'll always cherish were the relationships with my co-hosts. Like that for me, they're like family. For me, they are so like family because we had to learn how to have each other's backs on stage, and that starts off stage
in the trenches.
Yeah, of course. And like the only way to do that is to get to know people, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's also another lesson that I took, like taking to my other jobs. Like I always want to get to know either my co-actors or my co-hosts or whoever I'm working with, especially if we have to have chemistry, like bro, like let's hang out or something, because if it's fake, it'll show. I mean, I guess that's your job as an actor to make sure it doesn't show, but it's just everything just comes more naturally. Like I don't know, like when we shot with Carson, diba, towards the end, it was just so much better. In terms of like we're just so comfortable with each other versus like the first day.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, and so that was like my stint not my stint in hosting. Like that was how I started hosting, and I'm so grateful for that experience. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Orsem. Go. So I talk too much.
No, perfect. I really wanted to touch in a back base because I was also in theater, and so was my Ate Sam. She did trumpets actually, and I know the practice that trumpets goes through, the programs that you go through, and the show, the exposure actually the trumpets provides these actors. It's on a different level. So what level did you feel your acting was when you were already in Ateneo? Like I know you didn't go to the Blue Rep or Tanghala.
I did Blue Rep.
You did Blue Rep for how many years?
I think I did like 3 or 4 shows with them while I was there.
How did you feel your acting skills were at that level now? Like after trumpets and everything. Smile.
Okay. I mean this with the most love. It was very basic in a sense of at trumpets play shop. Workshops are to teach children to be creative and to explore. And so I think going into college, I was in that stage of like this. What I'm trying to say is I did not have any technique. They don't teach you technique formally. It's all treated as games. right? How do we turn the acting process into a fun game for young people? But syempre, there are lessons there. Like, for example, technical lessons, of course, like understanding that everything on the stage is big and like taking up space, understanding your relationship to the space around you, not just to your co-actor, but like, to the props, to the lights. Like, there are a lot of technical aspects that I think when I got to college felt natural. But I didn't realize that only felt natural because of the training that came from trumpets and rep. But yeah, it's cool because they treat it like a game, right? Or they treat it as this fun thing, or we're just playing. That's why it's called play shop. But I would say in retrospect, going into college, I think it was just I thought I knew what I was doing, but looking back, I think I was just, very, very, very typical new actor, especially on stage. Make everything big, make everything intense, and make sure you feel everything, which can take you very far at first. And I think, and as young people, when we feel, boy, do we feel everything, right? Like. Grabe. But it's not necessarily a repeatable experience all the time. If you're doing like multiple shows a day, that juice is gonna run out at some point, unless, just like you're human, like it's not gonna be the same and perfect every time. And it was when I took acting classes with Missy Maramara, another person I'm so grateful for, that I kind of started to build my technique. Not kind of, I built, she'll kill me if I say kind of. That's where we worked on building a technique for myself, a technique that works. And technique means that it's a process that is repeatable, where I can do this again and again and hit all the points I need to hit. And that was something I learned in class when I got to like a bit more formal training. That's like not just for fun. It wasn't for fun. It was to be graded. And so, that's where I learned the vocabulary in acting a little bit. It's all pretty. I would say. Of course, going into it, you think you're so special and so smart, but I would say it's stuff that like all actors learn and all actors need to learn. Of course, there are some people who never learn technique because they are just blessed by the grace of God, or or just they are doing the technique, but they don't realize they are they don't have the language for it, but they are doing all the things.
It's just so natural.
A lot of actors do. Yeah, it's natural to them. But when you break down what they did, actually, they were practicing a lot of stuff that is it's that stuff that people study.
On a quick note,
I feel like trumpets.
Gave you confidence, right? You entered a scene where it would have been so much easier, because if you had no confidence and suddenly you're alongside all these very talented individuals, you're not going to be able to easily navigate those next steps into gaining the technical skills that you have gotten. Do you feel that from the start of Ateneo to like graduating, did you feel like your toolbox was greatly enhanced?
Oh yeah, of course. I feel like I definitely feel that I felt more confident and my confidence was more grounded. Going into college, I feel like my confidence was just like literally a performance, just like pretending to know, like faking it till I make it, because that's how we're taught in theater. Like you have to be confident on stage, and even if you're not, you just have to look. You have to look it, right? That's what they tell you at first.
Fake it till you make it.
Yeah, just know your lines and do it, and the rest will follow. But syempre, we know that that's not all it takes. I definitely feel that I grew a lot during my time as an actor and as a host. I grew a lot in my time at Ateneo. Was definitely humbled many times. And I feel like I continue to be humbled every day. Like, I think the number one thing I had to learn was that the only thing I know is that I don't know. And I have to tell myself that all the time. Anytime that I think I want to act like I know something, it's just, I always have to take a step back and be like, no. There's always more to learn. And the moment that you feel like you stop learning, there's something wrong.
Exactly.
It's such a beautiful philosophy for life too.
Yeah. It's hard to practice. Because, I mean, I'm an Aquarius. I think I know everything.
Well, it looks like, you had a really like a budding career already in the Philippines. I guess when did you start thinking of moving to America and pursuing it here?
I've always wanted to move to America. I'm a citizen, and so it was looming over my head for a long time of like when I would move. And for a long time I didn't, because there was really no reason to. I was a pretty successful coach. I'm teaching at a lot of different studios. Like, I taught spin at Ride Revolution. I taught climbing at Rise Nation, which I was a founding instructor there, which was really cool. And then also on the Movement Studio, I taught boot camp, which was a completely new concept in Manila, at least. They're the ones who brought that kind of boot camp style training to Manila. And then also in Rebel, which is like a fitness app by Erwan Husaf and his group. I was a trainer there as well. And like my videos actually did really well. They were, for like a year or two, they were like #1 most viewed, which is really cool. Nice. It was like a hit the beat is what we called it. It was like doing the moves to the beat of music. So I guess because I incorporated my background in dance and spin, that's what made it really different from the other coaches. And on top of that, I was like, hosting. There was always an event hiring all the time, and whether it's like events in person, and then during the pandemic, there were online events. Sometimes we would, if you guys know that, Lazada and Shopee.
Yeah.
I hosted live streams for them too, sometimes from home, or sometimes like I go into their studio, and it was cool because sometimes there's like a celebrity guest and stuff. And I guess what really prompted the move was like during the pandemic, like things weren't looking good. Like, I mean, things were we were doing this, like a lot of online stuff, but like I was just over it. And I felt like I was ready to try to move abroad. And as soon as I got a job, I was like, I'll take it. I didn't even think twice, even though I ended up quitting that job. That job remained unnamed, but I literally quit within 1 month. Slash fired. I don't know. Depends how you look at it. There's two sides to every story. I say quit, they say fired. Who knows? Maybe we'll make a documentary about it. But so I took I think I was just looking for an excuse to leave, like looking for a reason to leave.
And that's so interesting because you had all these opportunities, but you had all these plans that you've had, and then, coincidentally, you were already watering them just by existing there. So what were your expectations about moving and losing all of that? Were you anxious about any of it, or were you just like, this is the next chapter?
No, I was excited. Although I was really sad. I was really sad because I knew it was a chapter closing. At the time, I didn't get, what's that called? Not even FOMO, but I didn't like think twice, because at that time there was nothing happening. It was only more recently, like the past 2 years, where I was like, gosh, how would life be if I stayed?
Yeah.
Especially when everything started opening up, and then all my friends are booking all these things and so successful. I'm so happy for them. I'm like, not jealous, more just like about what about me? Such a typical actor, so fucking egotistical. Always about me. But when I left, I wasn't thinking about that. All I could think about was just like new opportunity, and I've always wanted to move abroad and see what life is like there. And I always felt like I didn't belong. I think I think yun yung hugot ko. Yun yung hugot ko deep down is that for some reason I always felt like I didn't belong in Manila or in the Philippines. I don't know. It's just I maybe part of it was because of my identity, because I'm gay, and it's such a conservative Catholic country, and so syempre growing up there were those undertones. I mean, not undertones. They were like everywhere, right?
Yeah.
It was only when I was in college that I was out. And even then, it was still so like I don't want to say controversial, but it was still like I don't even want to say big deal, but syempre, like there were still so many. How it is now? Now everyone's out, everyone's gay, everyone's drag queen.
What year?
Everyone
was it?
and their
did you
mom
come
is
out?
drag queen. I think I came out. No, I mean I was out to my friends for like all
A while,
high
yeah.
school, like whatever.
Yeah.
But I guess publicly, 17, 18.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess to the world really was 2018. I was
I feel you. Oh my
I
God.
was on a magazine cover where I was making out with a boy.
Oh my
So I
gosh.
guess that let's for the sake of sake of podcast, let's say that's when I came out.
That's the public coming out. That's when
the
everybody
public
was like,
coming
"Oh
out.
my
Yeah,
gosh!
yeah.
Oh, I didn't know."
But surely no one was surprised.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone was surprised when they saw that. They're like, "Yep, yeah, we've seen that."
Yeah. I think I came out around the same year as well. I wanted to
Yeah.
ask you, I guess, how was it being like, out as a queer person and working in the entertainment industry there? Like, was there a lot of like discrimination or a lot of like microaggression, I guess?
In theater, no. Definitely not in like events and stuff, because these events they're run by queer people and women, so they're cool. I guess I didn't work too much in like TV and film, but definitely highly discouraged to be an out and proud person.
Wow.
Even your mom manager. I mean, I've heard lots of talk of like mom managers who they themselves are
in the LGBT.
Are like LGBT and would like scold their talents for like kung anong ginagawa or whatever, and I'm like it's
Dang. I didn't know that's
the world that they lived in back then.
do you
Syempre,
think that,
we know now it's different.
Yeah. Why was there that pressure for people to do that to
I mean,
people in the
because
community?
because boys have to be desirable to women.
Oh,
that's
it's like the manufacturing of.
Yeah, I mean, kung gusto mo maging artista,
Kailangan heartthrob.
kailangan marketable ka. At kung lalaki, yung mga kailangan macho, diba? I mean, these aren't things that people say out loud, but it's certainly what
There's structural.
I mean, that was the culture back then, but now it's so different. I think now it's so different. Everyone's out and people are so proud, and it's like I think in the past 2 or 3 years,
it was a big change, I believe.
Yeah, there's a big change. I don't know what it was. I wonder what it was, but there was a big change in like people now aren't afraid to be out and proud, and I love it. It's great.
It's amazing.
I have before we go on to the next question, I have a question for both of you guys actually, and it comes from Hans talking about he felt like he didn't belong in the Philippines. And I think there's a conversation there for a lot of immigrants, right? Like, who do we think the Philippines belongs to? Let's start with Nicole.
Wow. Who do we think the Philippines?
Right, to say this is my
wonderful
country.
question.
I know that is. I mean, I still have, a big part of the Philippines in my heart. That's where I grew up. That's where most of my family is still. And like, I don't know, like there was just, I can't even like pinpoint it. Like, I still feel like, the Philippines belongs to the Filipino people. I would love to believe that. as an idealistic person, but I don't know, man. I do agree with Hans about like not belonging there. At least when like I was in the industry there, you know, I was like a mere production assistant, but there was a certain exclusivity, I guess, to it that was very hard to penetrate at the time. And I don't think it has any relation to me being, part of the LGBTQ community at the time, but it's just the way it was, I think, when I was there.
As a society,
Yeah. But yeah, I still do believe that, the Philippines do belong to the Filipino people.
Okay.
Do you think that you do well if you go back home?
I mean, if they let me in and start making films with them, then yeah, I think so.
Just show me the door.
Exactly. Because I do still want to make films there.
Oh, yeah.
Because the stories that I want to tell also, I think, would be good there because it is for the Filipino people. So, yeah.
How about you, Hans? Like, if you didn't belong, if you didn't feel like, yeah.
Now that I think about it, I think it was a me problem. It wasn't the Philippines problem. It was a me. It was a me and my mindset. I've been doing a lot of self work, and what I'm realizing is that no matter where I go, I feel like I don't belong. That's on me. That's something I have to work on. I don't know. I always just felt like, well, part of it, and then bring it back to at least the Philippines question. Part of it was because, like, let's just like address the elephant in the room. 3 Filipinos on a podcast speaking what? English. And so, because I was just so konyo growing up. Like, for those of you who don't know, konyo is someone who is just like, to put it simply, a whitewashed Filipino. And like, let's just be real. That's just how I was raised.
It's like Beverly Hills, the stereotype of Beverly
Yeah, I
Hills.
mean, I don't even, I'm not even wealthy, but it's just, I guess just the circles that I was raised in, the communities that I was part of, just like was just ingrained into was just leaned into Western culture. And not that I'm not Filipino, I have so many Filipino habits and and behaviors that
It's just a
like
subculture,
actually
right?
what's funny is that I left not feeling like I belonged, came here and realized just how fucking Filipino I am. Which I guess is exactly what I needed, right? Because like it took me leaving to realize that, because I was like back home I was like I'm so different, or like not much so different, because there's, I mean, let's be real, there's a lot of us Conyos. I mean, why do you think I went to Ateneo? But at least like in the general population, it's like I couldn't identify with how things are, even with stuff that's going on in show business. I couldn't identify with that because syempre my experience and and the things that I watch are all just American shows, American TV or international TV. And so it felt like my reality was so different, but really it wasn't. It was just like, I guess this is also to speak to like what you consume and what you surround yourself with really does become your reality. And at the time, that's what I was surrounding myself with, and it just didn't match what I perceived to be what like how the Philippines is. But when I moved here, I definitely felt I felt like, damn, I'm so Pinoy.
Pinoy ako, pre.
I'm so Filipino. Yeah. And it's great. I think it's one of the blessings of moving abroad is that I was able to learn more about myself and how like I fit into my culture and stuff, and I really appreciate it so much more. And I love this quote from Past Lives. You guys get to see Past Lives this year.
I just saw it yesterday.
A movie by directed by Celine Song.
Yeah, Song.
Did I
Yeah,
get that right?
Yeah.
Celine something. And then the story is that long lost childhood best friends / lovers, not even lovers, but like they're kids, like love each other. Got separated, and then they reconnect. And in this flashback scene where they're on a date, because I think in Korean culture, sometimes if the moms get along, they'll let you go on a date. Parang, that was like
a play date.
They're like 12. Yeah, but parang play date, but syempre it's a little bit romantic, diba? And the moms were talking, and then the mom goes, the mom of the one who was staying in Korea asked the mom who was leaving, she was like, "You're a successful artist here, and your husband is a director, like so successful, and you're wealthy. Why would you leave?" And she goes, you gain a little something when you leave somewhere. And that one.
That's it.
That was
fucking slapped.
That was one of my favorite scenes, actually.
I know.
That hit so hard.
That hit so hard.
It's so fresh on my mind because I just watched it yesterday and I was like blown away. Wow. And there was also another line from that scene. And it said, like, she was asking why they were leaving. And she was like, you don't win like a Nobel Prize for being like as a Korean or something like that. And it's kind of the same, like nobody wins Nobel Prizes in the Philippines, unfortunately.
I mean, not to say that it's not possible, but that also is like, I think that's referring to like the American dream, whether we like it or not. The U.S. is the global superpower, and so everything is to that standard, at least right now, currently.
Yeah.
And so everything is always by comparison to how things are here, or not to say that other countries don't achieve anything, but it's just the world that we live in.
Yeah. I guess
you can take it or leave it, but like, we chose to take it. We were like, we drank the Kool-Aid. We were like, all right, I want that dream.
And I think the creative in us should always also understand this concept that I know that you guys understand, that we can't be what we can't see. Like if we're always seeing these very successful people and they don't look like us, there's always going to be like a devaluing subconsciously, right? It's like, those guys are the ones in charge. Oh, those guys are the guys that can make change. But once people are in those places that make, reasonable change, movies that inspire people, represent somebody, Hans, like how did that feel? Just like being able to represent the Philippines on film. Like, let's talk about that.
Grab it, pressure. I don't think I represented the Philippines. I think that's
you represent
I'm a person who's Filipino, but to be able to have a film that I think pays homage or respects to our culture, I think what a way to kickstart my artistic journey here in LA. I think that was the only way. It could have begun, because I can't go on to play these other characters until I figure out myself. And I think that's the journey that I'm currently still on. And that, like, Tahanan started that, like moving here, like I said earlier, like moving here made me realize just how fucking Filipino I am. Working on Tahanan even more so, like, just made me realize how much of my identity is how the Gen Z calls it, Filipino coded. Like,
I like that.
And which before I wouldn't have necessarily understood that, because we were also when you're surrounded by it, you don't appreciate it, right? It's only when you're taken out of it, and you're like, oh, wait, I missed that.
Yeah.
Or like, oh, wait, that's part of me. And so it's significant to me in a sense that it has allowed me to grow. It allowed me to grow as an artist, as a person, and because I realize, because now that I'm a bit, I wouldn't say more, now that I'm a bit more, I guess, in tune with my culture and who I am, I'm now able to play other Filipino characters much better, right? Because let's face it, I don't look white. I'm not white passing. I'm not other Asian passing. I'm not East Asian passing.
Yeah.
Best I can do is Indonesian. So, but like, let's be real. Like, I'm probably going to be playing Filipino characters, and without having that sense of connection to my culture, I would never be able to do that. And so, like, for me, like this, like working on Tahanan was really, was a key to that. Was a key to moving forward as an actor.
Okay. No, I guess it's so great to have been able to hear that from someone who we put so much trust, right, into delivering the story.
Yeah, y'all were crazy. Y'all were crazy for trusting me.
And no, I think
casting me in the dead of night in the middle of some random park in Glendale. I texted my partner my location because I was like, please, if I don't reply in 2 hours, I've been killed and kidnapped, and you need to call 911. Yeah, avenge me.
No,
go John Wick on their asses, because I was like, what the hell? I've never been at a casting in a park, but apparently he was like, no, that's normal. Like that's just sometimes it happens if you know, when people don't have a venue, they just do it in the park.
Yeah, it was
and
like
public is better than someone's house.
We'd rent
because actually, now that I think about it, if we did it at your place, I'd be more sketched out. I'm like,
yeah, there's like, oh, now I'm in your, like I'm behind situation. Your walls and stuff. But around that time, there's like COVID was just ending, so every like social space was like charging 600% more. So we were like, we don't want to spend $700 on just auditioning people.
Yeah.
So let's what's the middle ground here? And something I want to ask you is, since you know, moving here, working on a Filipino film, moving to a new country can often include a big part of cultural adjustment, right? And for you personally, how has this transition influenced your identity as an actor and as an individual?
There's definitely a lot of culture shock. First of all, I don't know why it's just coming to mind, but small talk.
A lot of small.
There's a lot of it. There's a lot of it. Like, it took me at first I didn't know. Like, sometimes I don't know what to say. Like, are you actually asking how I am, or like whatever? Like when people comment about the dumbest things, but I realized just you know, you just have to do it, and I just treat it like these days I just treat it like improv moment,
improv time,
like, improv time. Like what can I say to make this American laugh and tip me, right? Yeah, it's just small talk. Just I don't know. It's the first thing that came to mind. I think it's just because it's something that I encounter every day. But in terms of like my acting as an actor, how has like moving here affected it? I realized that as coño as I am, my American English accent is so different from California English.
Yeah.
Like right now, this feels natural, like how I'm talking. This feels like my natural English accent. But for some reason, when I'm talking to Angelinos or just Americans in general, like, why do I struggle? Like, literally, why am I struggling? It's
like,
because
in what way? Like just the accent, or
no, not struggling. I think it's because you know, alam mo naman, tayo mga Pilipino marunong mag-code switch.
Yeah.
So kapag nagtatagalog yung kasama mo, magtatagalog ka. Kapag konyo yung kasama mo, English. And so I think I have that natural like that there's a part of my brain that's like, okay, I need to reflect this person's act back in them. Yeah. And then like it's not how I know, it's not how I talk.
Yeah.
And so
it becomes some sort of Western like English.
I don't even understand. The problem is I can't even repeat it. I can't even do it to you right now. But sometimes I'll catch myself like, why am I struggling with these words? Like, did I forget how to read? Or, I don't know, but that's something. Or like, and I'm reading a script, right? Like, sometimes I'm like, why can't I just say it naturally? Or I don't know, like. Or like, why am I struggling with the cadence of how I'm talking? And I just realized like even if we have quote unquote like, oh my gosh, your accent sounds so good. Like even if we have good accents, considering that we're Filipino and that we're supposed to sound like this.
Yeah.
Even though we have good accent, it's still not like at least how they talk.
It's not American enough for them.
Yeah,
We're just never gonna have the right accent ever.
Yeah.
When we
Or,
go,
I don't know what
it's
it is, but it's because it is different. It is different. The way that we talk is it's a little bit different from like someone who lives here and who grew up here.
Definitely.
But that's something I'm learning. I don't think I struggle too hard, but there are definitely times where it's like when I watch my tapes and I'm like, you sound like a foreigner. You sound like a foreigner who's speaking English, if that makes sense.
Like, I guess I understand in the
Maybe I'm just being
context of,
racist
like,
to myself. Oh my gosh, I have so much self-loathing.
No, no, like when you're trying to audition for a role for a person who lives in LA, I guess it makes sense that you're critiquing yourself like that. But if it's just normal life, and I'm like, as long as the person understands you and how you're speaking English, it shouldn't matter. Like,
maybe I'm probably just overthinking it. Actors love to overthink. Do you know that last night? I wish I could show you, but I already deleted it. Wait. Actually, I can look at the previously deleted. Do you want to see
what?
How many takes I did?
Let's go.
40.
An inside look.
Go. I was supposed to be like, this is such a quick, easy audition. It was for a freaking Filipino app or whatever. Sinendsa ni Juan. It should have been the easiest thing in the world. And I think I was just overthinking and trying to be freaking perfectionist.
Oh my God. That's so much.
That's all the same take.
No.
That's all. Like I'm just doing the same thing.
Oh my God.
We got extreme close-ups there.
Yeah, it was. Oh my God, it was
crazy.
It maybe so. What I'm trying to say is maybe with the way I talk, I'm just overthinking. Another fucked up thing I'm trying to work on is like I'm always thinking about how instead of finding similarities in people and similarities in situations, my default is to try to find the differences. Isn't that so strange? Like, why? Where did I get that?
Differences.
Who taught me that? Like, I'm always trying to find the difference instead of trying to find common ground.
Like what?
So,
like acting here in America, or
like just a person? Just a person. Like, because acting. Actors, we're just trying to be people, but trying to be people.
I think our culture naturally teaches us to look at the difference in Chinese. He's Chinese Filipino. He's ano, diba, Moreno. There's my experience in like the Philippines naman, like growing up in the Philippines before was like I was born like with an outside culture. So I was being raised as an outsider. Like I was being raised as a Filipino kid, but I was being treated
he's different
as an outsider. So I always literally that's why I asked the question, because for me I'm like, I get it, diba? Like even if I was born in San Juan and grew up in Katipunan, people are always going to treat me like, oh my God, you're some foreigner.
You're not Filipino.
So how was your exposure to both Filipino and American culture influenced your acting style, I guess, since like predominantly in the Philippines too, you were like, I don't know if it's predominantly, but you were already consuming a lot of American media and in the entertainment industry.
My acting style, I'm not sure, because I mean the techniques that we learned are Western techniques, and I'm not sure if that would be different. Unfortunately, I read that one thing that I wish I did was train under PETA or like take some PETA classes, because I think that's such like
PETA, the organization, like the animal organization?
Not the animal organization, girl. The Philippine Educational Theater Association.
Okay. I'm like, why are they teaching? Oh my God, that's
Shut up.
Good thing we
learn how to act like an animal. At least in school, what we learned was a lot of Western techniques, but syempre taught by a Filipino person, and so syempre there is some, I guess, overlap. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure how to answer that question. I can answer that question for hosting, because I feel like my humor is different Filipino humor in general is pretty different.
Do you struggle with it, like translating it into English?
I mean, not that I don't think I'm not funny, but
It's just a different vibe.
it's just a different vibe, and like
Yeah.
I'm kind of trying to find my voice as a Filipino person in the U.S. Not like it's not been done before. There's a million of like immigrant hosts, stand-up comedian. I'm not a comedian, but like stand-up comedian.
Yeah.
Who are still funny. But I just realized like, oh my god, what Filipinos find funny is just so different. And sometimes I'll make like a super kalog joke or something, or a super gago joke, and then like people don't get it, and they're like, what is that? Or like I on the other end, I don't understand like dry humor, and I'm like, what? Or like I'll be like, I'll take it seriously and I'll answer the question, and I'm like, and they're like, no, I was kidding. I'm like, oh,
okay.
You end up confused. You're like,
like we're all confused. And so that's something that I definitely feel is really different. And yeah, so acting wise, I feel like I need to still keep exploring. Again, I'm always learning.
Nice.
Always learning. So if anyone wants to continue to teach me, please slide into my DMs.
Yes.
I have a lot to learn.
I guess another question is what challenges, if you could compare, like being in the entertainment industry, both in the Philippines and here, like what are the big differences in challenges, like entering into a career here and in the Philippines?
Ooh. I feel like back home, if you're not, kung wala kang agent, or like it's harder to get an agent back home.
Okay.
And if you're not, kung di ka nag-workshop under the studios, mahirap. Like they don't have open auditions or open submissions or anything like that. There's no casting networks or actors access. It's all through the agents and through the managers. And if you don't have someone who's doing that for you, it's not that you can't do it. It's just like
it's harder.
It's just a bit. Excuse me. It's just a bit harder to navigate as an independent artist, right? Versus someone who's like signed and they have they have the help that they need.
They're in the industry.
They have people working for them. They're in the industry. Versus here, it's a bit more democratized. In terms of like, there are sites where there are open roles that's open to everyone. That whether you have an agent or not, you're represented or not, you're able to submit, and they can see you. Syempre, there's those are like, I mean, the bottom of the barrel, like the lowest tier of roles. They're not gonna do that for like big, like the lead in a big movie. But that's where you start, right? Like, of course,
exactly.
It's like in
that's how you get your SAG card.
Yeah, it would be like an entry-level job. It's like getting a job at Starbucks. Kind of like it's one of those like, this is where you start, right? Back home, even those kinds of jobs, how do you even? I can't even answer you because like I didn't even like. From what I know, you have to find an agent, find someone who wants to manage you, or mag-workshop ka, and then from there, i-sign ka. But other than that, if, as an independent artist, it's hard, or you have to produce your own, or you have to work with other people who are like part of the indie scene. Well, I did a few indie films back home, but I wasn't like active in the, because there's a whole community, right? As it is here, and unfortunately, hindi ako active dun. Which now I realized, why didn't I? I don't know. Were you, Nicole? Were you active in like the indie film community back home?
Not really.
It's a big community.
Yeah, it is a big community. Not really. I think I maybe like got a glimpse of it before I moved here. Like, I think that's the closest that I've been at least included in that circle.
I just did really like print ads, commercials. So this was the VTR process. I was being thrown at like countless of VTRs.
Oh, well, that's something that I feel was easier to get into back home. Well, it's the same here. Dito rin naman. But I think in terms of parang equal lang was the VTRs and stuff. Like that was, you could just show up. You could just show up to the office, be like, "Hi, I'm gonna do gusto ko magpa-file, and then you come ready.
Yeah.
You just
Say your
"Hi, my name is
name. Look
Hans
to the
Braga.
side.
I'm 5'11". I'm 27 years old."
You get stuck in Makati traffic and this.
Yeah, and then you're stuck in Makati all day.
You just go there for
God.
like 10 minutes and you're like,
Yung paborito ko yung okay, yes acting. Alam niyo ba yung yes acting?
No, I don't know that.
Ganda yun. Okay, so sabihin mo, yes. Pero iba't ibang expression. So, okay.
oh yes.
Yes. Happy. Yes. Sad. Yes. Angry. Yes. Nanalo ka ng loto. Yeah. Ganun yun. It's so funny. Or yes or wow. Yes or wow. It's
Wow.
I remember that.
it's so funny because I've never done one where I felt good about it. Even though it's the simplest thing.
You're always
Is it-
second guessing yourself. My question mark palagi sa
Yeah,
dulo.
like-
yes.
Yes?
Para saan yun? Para saan? Like,
For
just-
VTRs, for auditions, for commercials, all the time. Almost every time they'll do yes acting. But
Wow.
here, they never do it. Here, it's just they just give you the script.
Yeah, and then
There's
you just find out if you get hired or not once you send in your.
You find out if you have a callback.
I
How
see.
it worked with my agents was they would tell me and my friends, who were there, we were in the same agency, they're like, oh, just go there. And then
Yeah,
they'll just
go.
text you, hey, you got it. Or, if they don't text you, you didn't get it. So for me, like navigating that around, because like rejection, that's part of it, like when you're acting, when you're going after roles, and even in sports,
Yeah.
siguro, like you just deal with rejection. Like you're shooting a ball, pinalpal ka, rejection, I just dealt with that a lot, like growing up. And so I wasn't really too bothered when like I didn't get these commercials and stuff. And some people are like, the world's not
Yeah.
moving anymore. And I'm like, there will be another one.
What
We'll
being
survive.
rejected by lovers? Shout out.
That is for another episode.
Ooh, got serious.
Yeah, we are taking that on another episode. But,
This is not that kind of podcast. That's for another podcast.
it's about you, Hans. So how about you? I'm kidding.
Yeah. I guess talking about roles and stuff like that, Hans, what would be your dream role as an actor? Like if there were no limits at all, what would be the dream role?
My answer always changes, but currently, I've done the coming of age, ish, the immigrant coming of age. Okay, I think it's just because of what I'm watching and stuff. I think past lives, bagay. Past lives plus Tahanan, but make it gay. Bring in the alphabet mafia.
I've been
I
thinking
want the
about
Skittle
that.
Squad. I want rainbows. Like
I've been thinking about that story too. I'm like, because
Yeah,
I had the
like-
same like idea of like a story, but like, going back to the Philippines and like childhood, lovers too, but in the context of like, the Philippines, like it being like not really accepted there as openly.
I think it would be cool to have it like here and like again like two cultures again, but also with the added like layer of being gay and what it's like to be gay as a Filipino. Because if you think about it, Filipino culture is so fucking gay.
It
Like
is.
in general, even if they weren't accepting before, our practices are so gay.
And that's
Like,
so weird because
everyone's taught to sing and dance.
Exactly.
Lahat ng boys, girls, marunong mag spaghetti bababa. Diba?
Yes.
Like the things they teach us are so gay, so LGBT. Like
They didn't even know. They didn't even know.
It wasn't okay. So I feel like that would be really interesting to explore. But like Past Lives was great, but it was also so serious. But I want
was very sad.
Like I'm not so over. I think it's beautiful to have these to have people's wounds healed through the art of film. But I think it's also time to see some gay joy. I want to see some
Yes.
happy F words on the screen.
Go.
Yeah, like think red, white, and royal blue. Have you seen those?
Yes, I have
I haven't
seen
seen it
that
yet.
too.
I've seen all the memes.
It's a little bit on the nose for some of them, but it's just so good. Like
it's meant to be cheesy.
Yeah. It's very kilig though, so you have that. But yeah, that's great.
That would be my dream role, like something with the meet cute.
A question for you, Hans. What do you think needs to be done in the industry now that you've had your fair time in here, to have better representation? In your personal opinion,
representation,
for your and that's for you. It's like multifaceted because there's representation for culturally, and then there's like LGBT representation. So what more can the industry do?
I think we just need to I feel like to have diverse stories, you have to have diverse people at the top. The reason why right now I feel like the reason right now it feels so forced, because you know how people are like, it's so woke, it's so forced, blah blah blah. Because sometimes it is, because of like it doesn't feel genuine. I think people are identifying is that it's not genuine, because no one complains when there's like a genuinely like diverse and socially aware piece of media. What people seem to not like is when it's these big entities that are run
doing the bare minimum.
doing the bare minimum, but also I don't know who runs these things, but a lot of the times I feel like what people are reacting to is that it's not feeling genuine. I definitely sometimes feel like I love seeing diverse casts all the time. Like, good for that actor. Like I will always root, even if they are the diversity hire or the token OC role. I'll support it. I don't care. But I will agree with some critics of like sometimes it feels forced. Because sometimes it is pretty forced when it's not coming from a genuine place. However, people need to shut the fuck up when it comes to people of other races being cast in roles traditionally played by white people when the race of the person is not even part of the story.
Exactly.
If it's not part of the story, then it doesn't matter. If in the story it doesn't say Becky the Caucasian, then it shouldn't matter who plays them.
Becky,
no matter if they're a human, alien, or freaking, I don't know, octopus. Like it doesn't matter. Like sometimes it does matter. And the funny thing is, no one was like there was no media. If you didn't get it already, I'm talking about Little Mermaid and Snow White and all the shit about Disney. I'm a very big Disney fan, and so like no one was up in arms when Emma Stone. Well, no white people were like going crazy when Emma Stone played an Asian person in whatever that movie was.
Was it Emma Stone?
Like, why is it? Yeah, I mean, it wasn't her fault. She just played a role.
Yeah.
But like, no one was up in arms about that, other than Asian people. And it's like, when it's reversed, if it's like a white person or white character traditionally that's played by a person of color, all of a sudden it's like a big issue. And it's like, but if the person's ethnicity is not even part of it. Yeah. All right, I just had to bring it up because it's like right now it's happening with Snow White as well, about Rachel Zegler. I'm not sure if that's how I pronounce the last name. And she's such a talented actress.
She's the girl from Euphoria, right?
No. Rachel Zegler is West Side Story.
Oh, okay. I remember.
So beautiful, so talented, and then she's getting all this hate. Part of it is because she said she doesn't like Snow White, or like she didn't like it as a kid.
Oh my gosh!
Whatever,
of course.
Like, you don't have to be a fan of your character to play them. Exactly. But there's a lot of really racist undertones when it comes to the haters online, and it's crazy how now social media has also really affected the film industry. Like now everyone's opinions matter about casting, not just about casting the best person for the role. They'll change something because of how social media reacts. And I'm not saying it's a good or bad thing, but it's just interesting how really the industry has changed because of that.
Yeah, I think so too. Talking about representation and proper representation, I'm going to segue into Tahanan about this. And I was really, when we were trying to cast for Jerome, I was like, we need somebody who needs to know how to speak proper Tagalog, that it needs to sound like you came from the Philippines. Yeah, to an extent, at least. Like it needs to sound that you.
Some might argue that my Tagalog there was.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still
it's accurate nonetheless. It's accurate for the time that it's being represented.
Yeah. Yeah, it might not represent the entirety of the Philippines, but at least a part of the Philippines. So I think, I really tried to fight for we need somebody, and then we found you. So
or you found us.
That was.
I found you guys.
Wait, how did we find him at casting?
It was on Casting Networks.
We were in Vegas. Me and Juan were in Vegas, and we were doing a shoot for a company there. And I was already going to bed. I was tired, ready to wake up after 4 hours. And then Juan was like, Nick, he just screams from downstairs. And I'm like, what? Come down here. And then Juan just leaves it blank for so long. I'm like, why? And then he doesn't respond. So you go down. And I'm already so tired already. Juan, I don't want to go down there. Why? He's like, just come down. Baba ka na. And I'm like, shh. So I go down.
I can imagine Juan saying that.
Actors, and he's just eating cereal at night. And I think it was cereal. He was shoving something down, and then we watch it, and then we see the first scene, the lines from the first scene, and I was already like, "Let's go, sign this man up. Let's go, email him. Let's go." And
what was the first scene? It was with the parents.
The parents.
Yeah, with the parents. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my God. I had to call my friend to help me out with that one.
Kasi nobody.
Bro, you're so good at Tagalog. Please help me. he was my Filipino teacher coach for Filipino accent coach for my audition.
Oh my God.
There we go.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. And even us, I think Filipino-Americans sometimes hold my Tagalog on such a pedestal, and I'm like, brother, I actually have some pretty intellectually my Tagalog is very slang. I do not reach the depths of this language. So when people are saying colloquial, yeah. And what I was saying is we bring value. We seek to bring value to our culture. It takes work to research the proper translation, to keep it colloquially, understandable, because the more we venture off, I think the more the culture becomes distant from us, right? Because we're distancing us from our culture. If we're doing our best to be okay, we're going to show it in the Philippines and we want them to understand, then we're doing our best into making true representation. I'm just going to say representation. And I really believe that we did it every time I see Tahanan on the film festival, which again, guys, if you're listening to this podcast, we are going to have a premiere at Silicon Beach Film Festival it's going to be at the TCL Chinese Theater on September 10th at 12 p.m.
That's our second screening at the Chinese Theater.
Beautiful.
Hell yeah.
Beautiful. So if you want to see a movie about Filipino migration and a story about finding out what home means, definitely swing by. We will be there, cast and crew, and we will love to see you there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Hans, talking about Tahanan, how was the experience? We're talking about working with people who want to represent.
It was amazing. I had the best crew, best director, best producer, best cinematographer, best score.
Naman.
Best co-actress and co-actors.
And how did it feel?
All I could ask for. More, and then some. All good food.
Good. Oh, always. Vegas, when Hans Braga there was a lot of adobo.
Never hungry. Never ako nagugutom ever. Because they know if I'm hungry.
Always hungry.
Always working, lifting weights during takes.
That wasn't during takes. Come on, you guys were setting up.
True.
You guys were setting
Setups.
up. I was like, are you guys going to take a while? Because if you're going to take a while, I'm going to work out.
And how does that feel? How do you feel that will look like in America when more and more productions, not even only Filipinos, but more and more people can represent their own cultures? Like, what do you think the stories are going to be like in American movies?
I feel like we're in the precipice of that right now. And I just feel like it'll be more fun.
Hey.
We're freaking like, guys, the movies, like, I mean, it's art and sometimes art is serious. I go to the movies to have fun and like have a good time and feel things. Like feeling things is the fun part. But like, I literally just watched Blue Beetle. There's so many things that I didn't understand, but I was like, "That's cool." I can tell that that's cultural. I was like, I can tell that that's culturally significant. I don't know what it means, but I was like, good for them, like that they included that. There are so many like little moments where I'm like, gosh, I wish I knew what that meant, because like I can tell by people's reactions that was really important to them. I feel like Blue Beetle is a pretty standard superhero movie, but as like a movie about a Latino family, it was so. I feel like it's a milestone in cinema, at least for American cinema. Not that we've never seen movies like that before, but like, you know, superhero DC, that's like currently this day and age, it's like the main stage of you know, it's like mainstream, right? And I had so much fun. I had so much fun. I learned a lot, or I was able to take a glimpse into their culture. And I feel like that's what it's going to look like. I feel like it'll just be a more enjoyable experience. We're so tired of seeing the same things all the time about the same people. We've seen it done again and again. And like we've seen the dark and troubled minds of white men for decades. And it's great. I love it. Like they're so tortured. Like, oh my God, there's so much trauma. Their brilliant minds have so much trauma that they had to share it with the rest of the world. Literally.
Now it's our time.
Now it's our turn to share our joy. You know, I mean, not that I mean, like, for example, Oppenheimer, that was a great movie, a masterclass in filmmaking. And you can see, for example, Christopher Nolan's, like, he made what could have been such a boring story a very interesting character study.
Masterclass.
Yeah.
Right? And in terms of the scale, it's amazing. But like in terms of the type of character, the type of stories,
The same thing.
I mean, we've seen similar, like, you know, troubled heroes in a war.
The anti-heroes.
Yeah, or not your anti-heroes, you know. You've seen it. I feel like that's great. Great that they get to do that. And I think there's enough base on the table. There's enough of a market. Yeah. There's enough of a market to tell other kinds of stories as well. Not to say that we don't need those stories anymore. There's certainly people who want them clearly. But those same people will probably go watch something like Blue Beetle or something like Tahanan. That's culturally, even if it's culturally specific, doesn't mean it's not relatable. Like we can all relate to family love. We can all relate to
finding your home.
Finding your home.
Yeah.
All relate to those things. Something my writer friend, Claire Hatch, said that I think really stuck with me. And I think I would love to explore as a filmmaker, as a storyteller, because I also want to explore like making my own stuff, not as an actor. If you guys want to let me direct something, let me know.
Hey.
Yes.
Specificity is relatability. Specificity is relatability. When you're specific about why something matters to someone, even if it's culturally specific, like us taking off our shoes before coming in the house, and what? But if you're specific as to why that's important and why that matters, then it's relatable, right? Like that really stuck with me because I feel like a lot of the fear around diversity, again, it's like the differences, right? It's like who's gonna watch this, right?
Yeah.
But it's like,
Yeah. As
who's gonna
a
watch anything? Like I can watch other people, and
People
still
are
be
going to
able
watch
relate to
whatever you put
something.
$400 million into marketing, and
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
And I also
Yeah.
feel like emotions and feelings and life experiences, that's universal for sure. Like, it doesn't matter what culture you come from, we've all experienced love and loss and all these beautiful things that come with life, and like it just makes it more fun for the movies when we see different kinds of people and different kinds of stories.
I guess as a Filipino artist, do you feel a sense of responsibility or desire, I guess, to represent our culture in your work? And like, how are you trying to approach this?
No,
No.
that's too much pressure. Respectfully, hindi po. No, I mean, it's just I'm just a person. I'm just a person who I'm just gonna try to communicate my experience, which happens to be a Filipino experience. Am I gonna always? I mean, I'm not just Filipino. I'm also gay. I'm also an immigrant. I'm also all these other things. I mean, recently also I'm sober, so it's like I have all these
Congratulations.
Congratulations! Oh, thank you. Yeah, I have all these like parts of my identity. Am I always gonna talk about it? Like, no. Like, there's a time and place for everything. There's a time and place for these kinds of stories to be told. So am I always gonna represent the Philippines as a person? Of course. In my art, I'll try. That's a story that I want to tell in that moment.
That time
in my life. But it's also to say that I'm always going to represent the Philippines. It's like, it's just a lot of pressure. I don't want to bring the online
bandwagon.
What's that called? Brigade. The brigade of people like, that's not Filipino enough. That's not how you say it. That's not how it looks. That's not how we do things. It's just like, and I'm guilty of that. I'm freaking guilty of that. Like, when a certain very popular Filipino film came out last year, of which I will not name, I was definitely like, what? Like, what the fuck?
I think I know what you're talking about.
I can't relate to that. And it's just like, that's just someone. That's just someone telling the story of their experience. I just didn't relate to it, right? And that's. But to say that was representative of of the whole Filipino experience, like, you can't do that. Like, there's no way. That's why I don't want to fall into that trap, because I myself was critical of these other filmmakers. I didn't post about it though. I just, talk shit. But yeah, like, I don't want to fall into that trap because I know that's a slippery slope. Yeah. And but mad respect to all the fucking Filipino filmmakers out there. Even if I can't relate to what you're making, I love you. I love that you're representing. It's great that we Asians and specifically Filipinos are now having like a come up. I think definitely a come up. Like, I don't think we've reached our Asian cinematic renaissance just yet. We're still on the way. But let me tell you, fucking Joyride. That is the kind of movie I want to make.
Yes.
As well. Like, on top of my romance one, I also want to make some crazy movie about partying.
Yes.
The cards are in the air, as they say. Hans, on this podcast, we really want it to be a gift to people, even if it's just ourselves in the future, to all our guests watching us on Apple Play, Spotify, and YouTube. The video version available on YouTube. We want it to be a gift. YouTube. So for this closing question, Hans, as someone deeply involved in the entertainment industry, what kind of conversation or conversations would you like to initiate or see more of among the people in the industry?
I think I spoke about this before with you guys. But like, moving to another country, you experience a lot of grief, right? You definitely experience a lot of loss because you are ending a chapter in your life. And like we said earlier, you also gain something. And so I want to ask people, whether you're an immigrant or you just move cities or you're going through a big change in your life, what have you gained in the face of grief?
Wow.
So yun.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you. I worked really hard on that one.
Yeah, that is.
It took all my brain cells. So I was like, wake up.
Do you want
Turn
us
it
to
on,
answer
turn it
that, or
on.
should we just like answer?
Yeah, answer it.
Yeah,
What have you gained in the face of grief? Whether that's, like moving here, or other forms of loss that you've experienced.
I think I gained everything I thought I couldn't have. Mostly, honestly, I'm hovering around like loss, departure, moving on, chapter ending, and stuff here. And then when we're so intensely in that emotion, we just feel like that's it. Like this is what life is. But we can still learn more. There's more after the pain, and then building up on that. If we focus on building up on the pain, then we come back stronger. We're stronger than we were today. But we have to focus on the future. That's my answer.
Thank you, contestant number 1. Now let's hear it
QC.
for contestant number 2, hailing from Quezon City. Hindi, Ilocos ka, diba?
Ilocos. May Ilocos Norte.
Hailing from Ilocos Norte. You have Nicole Ruiz. Miss Nicole, your answer.
Yes. So there was definitely a lot of grief when I first moved here because I moved alone as well. My dad was here, but he was completely in a different state. And he wasn't in the mainland at all. So I had a huge, homesickness, and I would call my family like a lot, at least within the first 2 years of being here. And I feel like I did have to, I did have to experience that grief in order to come into like myself as well, because I feel like the first 2 years here was definitely like one of the hardest, especially like the second year, I think. And then I don't know, like after that, like after overcoming that I haven't really, lost them. It's just a little harder now to, be in communication, like with my friends, like back home. Cause I would see them every day before I moved here, and I would talk to them every day as well. And now everybody, has their jobs, has their own life, and are pretty busy, with their career and stuff like that. So it was a little bit harder to connect, but that's just part of growing up. And once I've realized that, I feel like I grew into myself a lot more, like discovered, a lot of things about myself and what I wanted to do, and just started powering through and, still pursuing that. And a lot of my friends and my family definitely saw that change when I went home last. Like, they're like, oh, you're a lot more well-spoken than, when you left and all that stuff.
But I agree. I feel like being on your own really it forces you to figure shit out. Like,
exactly.
You gotta figure out what you want, and you gotta do it. And you do what you can.
Mm-hmm.
No one's gonna do it for you. No one's gonna do it for you.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was definitely an opportunity for growth. So I think I like that.
I'm so proud of us.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of us three, or us, our team. Like not just with what we achieved in Tahanan, but like a lot of us in the Tahanan crew moved from other cities or other countries, and like literally started our lives from scratch scratch in LA, and it's just like when you really think about it, it's like damn, like
we didn't know anybody.
We're we're doing fine. We're doing fine. We're doing it. We're doing it.
Nice. So go ahead, Hans, and promote our screening for next week already.
To all our viewers or listeners, hello po. Kamusta kayo? How are you doing? I hope you enjoyed listening to me, Nicole, and Nick ramble for about an hour and a half. And if you want to know, or you want to see or experience, if you want to experience our little passion project that really is what helped us grow as artists these past few months or this past year, go ahead and check out the Silicone Film Festival at TCL Chinese Theaters happening next week, September 10. 12 p.m. I'll see you there.
See you.
I'll be there.
Let's
You better be
go.
there. Or be square, as they say here in the United States.
That's so
Do you know why it's called Be Square? Because you're not around.
that
Yeah,
is
be there,
great.
be square, because you're not around. No,
Be
yeah, I'm
there or
serious.
be square.
Oh.
Okay, guys.
Go ahead and promote to Hans where they can find you on your socials.
You guys can find me on socials at Hans Braga _. And you guys can also take my classes at Brick, which is in West Hollywood. You can check me out on the schedule over there. And hopefully, fingers crossed, I have another gym that I'm going to be teaching at very soon. So watch out for some announcements on my pages.
Great.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for catching us on another episode of The Howl. It has been a pleasure. My name is Nicholas Barber. And
You gotta
this
howl.
has been Nicola Ruiz, accompanied by Hans Braga. We will catch you on the next episode of The Howl.